Penn's founder, Benjamin Franklin, wrote in his periodical, Poor Richard's Almanac, the rules by which men and women of wit and learning, that is, Penn students, should conduct themselves in company. First, our purpose is to shine, and hence we must prevent the shining of others, lest their brightness make ours dull. Second, we must talk much of ourselves, our education, our successes, and own wise observations. Finally, we should criticize anything that another person should say, and if it might be an indisputably good thing, we should criticize the grammar. In this way, our sage founder suggested, we would be remembered often, generally wherever we were not. Franklin's influence on our campus is enormous. For starters, he has 3 statues, including the one that only the tourists actually touch. It's difficult to outshine Ben, but I've met my fair share of characters at Penn who have tried. I'm sure we all carefully avoided the gaze of the preacher with the loudspeaker outside of Van Pelt. And who can forget the sandwich board man who propagandized Lyndon LaRouche on Locust Walk? One of the best things about Penn is the open campus, where you can see a mother with a baby in a pushchair, alongside a hipster with a fashionably scruffy-looking dog, walking past a girl whose Louboutin heel is stuck in the cobbles of Locust Walk. The heterogeneity of Penn was a major surprise to me when I arrived here 4 years ago from Zimbabwe. Although the ethnic and social makeup of my high school was fairly diverse, all of us shared very similar life goals and outlooks. Ben Franklin would not have approved of our matching shines, our carbon copy crowd made for a dull graduating class. My parents sent me to Penn with the expectation that I would do something like all the other kids. In Zimbabwe, we are expected to be doctors and lawyers and engineers, or at least do something involving math. Fortunately, Penn itself harbored no such assumptions. I was given wide access to a range of engaging subjects and was able to satisfy my requirements with unconventional classes. When I told my parents that I wasn't even going to study a major that existed at Penn, and was instead going to create my own course of study in the field of sustainable development, they were concerned that my many options had entirely gone to my head. And although I would love to continue talking about my own education and wise observations, it is clear that all of you sitting out here today know what Penn has done for us. The question facing each of us as we walk away from this field tonight is what lessons we will take from our 4 years here. 4 years of rushed Starbucks on the way to 9 a.m. classes, the never-ending queue outside Hemo's food truck at lunchtime, all-nighters in Huntsman, and midnight meals at Philly Diner. We know how to study an entire semester of economics overnight. And how to navigate the most unnavigable building ever constructed, DRL. We've mastered successfully completing the daily Sudoku in an hour-long lecture while maintaining meticulous notes. And we're accomplished at exploring the philosophical arguments of authors we were supposed to read for recitation and didn't. After all, as Ben said, if the argument is sound, for lack of anything else to say, we should criticize the grammar. Yet along the way, we have had many extraordinary exchanges with individuals whose glow far outshines our own. As a spinning instructor at Potruck Gym, as a residential advisor in Gregory College House, and as a participant in the Wharton School's Initiative for Global Environmental Leadership, I was privileged to meet many inspiring individuals in the Penn world. A regular in my spin class is a professor in the architecture school who has challenged my beliefs about the use of green space and taught me about sustainable architecture. One of the Allied Barton guards at my college house, Gregory, is studying criminal justice at St. Joseph's University, and we've shared more than a few late-night conversations about ethics and morality. At Wharton's Initiative for Global Environmental Leadership annual conference, I met a Penn engineering professor whose pioneering research is investigating methods of generating power in outer space for later use on Earth. Each conversation has honed our skills of speaking publicly, of thinking critically, and of analyzing arguments effectively. We have become increasingly comfortable thinking on our feet and are adept at expressing ourselves in a coherent and perceptive manner. Think back to your introductory freshman seminar and how awkward the initial few weeks were when no one wanted to be the first person to say anything. Now consider our final semester as seniors and how in vibrant class discussions we were alternately enthused and riled into communicating our ideas. Our time at Penn has expanded our capacity to evaluate and rely on our own convictions. Ben Franklin's tongue-in-cheek commentary does have some relevance for our year. We shine with extraordinary academic and civic success. Our education speaks for itself, and we do far more than correct grammar. Today, we no longer need the old rules for conduct, for we are prepared for futures far more remarkable than Franklin could have imagined. During our 4 years at Penn, we have been immersed in radiant company and experiences. As men and women of wit and learning, we leave confident that, to quote Ben again, we will either write things that are worth reading, or we will do things that are worth reading about. We, the class of 2009, are ready to build a future worthy of remembrance. Thank you.